In the first game we defeated Geese Howard, marking the beginning of a new landmark series for SNK, Fatal Fury. And now I'm back and prepared to take on its sequel, Fatal Fury 2! But before that, let's clear something up. This journey, going through all these games, it isn't about just telling you the story of them, nor is it a deep dive into the game's history or its cultural impact. I do like to include stuff like that, about the game's creation and stuff, just because I find it interesting, but no. This journey is my journey experiencing these games. I want to experience this franchise just through playing the games, experiencing what it has to offer, and having everyone in the comments help fill me in and teach me about stuff that I missed. So I've purposefully avoided doing certain research and watching stuff like the Fatal Fury OVAs because I think it's more fun if we get to experience it together. So if I get anything wrong, or there are things that I didn't understand or I didn't see in the game because they were in outside material, then please leave it down in the comments. I'd love to learn together. But that aside, let's dive in together as you guys get to watch my laughter, joy, and pain while I play through Fatal Fury 2. Releasing only 1 year after the first game, Fatal Fury 2 was met with critical and financial success. This was in the midst of the huge fighting game boom that happened during the 90s, having arcades filled with games like Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, and SNK's other game, Art of Fighting. Yet, despite all these highly acclaimed competitors, Fatal Fury was still doing incredibly well, with Fatal Fury 2 being Japan's second highest grossing arcade game in 1993, just barely beaten out by Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting. And in America, it was the 4th most popular played arcade game at the time too. So, safe to say the game ended up living up to the hype and expectations of many gamers during the 90s, but will it live up to my expectations? Let's find out. Immediately you can notice a huge difference from this game from the first. It has a huge roster compared to the measly 3 we were working with last time. Of course we have our core 3 boys returning, Terry, Andy, and Joe, but now we have 5 new fighters to meet. The first of these is Big Bear. If he looks familiar to you, that's because he should. This is actually Raiden from the first game. You know, the guy who gave me such a hard time with his fucking spamming attack. It's really cool that we get to see a boss from the previous game return as a playable character, and with a whole new personality and design to boot. After being defeated in the first game, he decided to change a new leaf and adopt a new wrestling persona, Big Bear, becoming a kinder person, ditching those dirty tactics from the first game, like that stupid fucking spit attack, I hate you! Next up we got Cheng. From what I was able to gather from this game's story, Cheng is a businessman who entered the new King of Fighters tournament in hopes of running his own dojo. He also trained under the same master as Jeff Bogard and Geese Howard. After that we have Jubei. He seems to be the Master Roshi type character, you know, an old, wise martial artist with a heavily perverted side to him. Anyways, with those guys out of the way, let's move on to the next 2 most important characters that were added for this game, with the first being Kephwan. Kim is a fan-favorite character, not just in Fatal Fury, but in SNK as a whole. He was the first ever Korean character to appear in a fighting game, and he uses the Korean martial arts of Taekwondo in his moveset. Kim is notable for having a strong sense of justice, even having the ability to sense whether or not someone's evil. Interestingly enough, Kim is actually based on a real person with the exact same name. Kephwan was the founder of a company named Viacom, a South Korean company who were known for porting and translating SNK games to Korea. Kephwan asked SNK to add a cool Taekwondo character, and that's when the game character of Kim Kephwan was made. There's a really interesting video that goes more in depth than this, so I'll leave that in the description and info card if you guys want to check it out. As for his story in the game, Kim is invited to the King of Fighters tournament, and that's about it. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I was kind of surprised by the lack of importance here, but either way, he's a cool addition. And as for the last character, we have Mai Shiranui. Mai is undoubtedly one of SNK's most popular characters, being one of the company's main mascots. And ironically, Mai wasn't even going to be in this game originally, instead of being a male ninja character. But they shifted from the ninja idea and they wanted to go for more of a idol vibe, leading them to create Mai as we know her today. She went from Star Platinum to Andy Bogard with boobs, and eventually went to her iconic design that we got in Fatal Fury 2. Mai is trained by her grandfather Hanzo Shiranui, who's a master ninja. During this time, she met Andy Bogard before the two of them then switched to train under Jubei. At first, Mai didn't seem to have any interest in Andy, thinking him to be a stoic man, only interested in strength. But after receiving a birthday present for him, she fell head over heels for him. She joins the King of Fighters tournament in order to run into Andy, planning on making him her disciple. Anyways, with character introductions out of the way, let's get to the main meat of the game. A new King of Fighters tournament is being held, this time being run by Wolfgang Krauser, Geese's half-brother and notorious crime boss. So, before we jump into the main plot of the game, let's talk about the changes that they made from Fatal Fury 1 to Fatal Fury 2. The controls from the first game have been completely changed for this game, and now it's a 4-button fighter. We have A and C as light punch and heavy punch, with B and D being light kick and heavy kick. This means no more dedicated throw button, as it's now mapped to forward heavy punch when you're close to an enemy. The game also changed around some inputs, with examples like crack shoot being different. And in the last video, I mentioned how I struggled to do my inputs, and I went into training mode. I tried the third game out. I did rigorous testing for this, and I still just wasn't able to get the inputs in this game, and I don't know why. I was struggling to use them, and because of that, I played most of the game without using any inputs. So the next hour and a half of gameplay basically just turned into a glorified footsies match. Because of this, I found the game to be extremely difficult, to the point where I would quit halfway through an arcade run only to boot it back up a few days later and try again. It was endlessly frustrating, and by the end of it, I think I just didn't enjoy the game at all. I even tried turning the difficulty down using the debug options, which was kinda cool to see, but that didn't help out too much either. So instead, I resorted to save scumming to win the run. Otherwise, I may not have been able to make this video. Old fighting games are brutal, man. So, finally getting into the fighting itself. The game has changed from the boss fight bonanza to being closer to Street Fighter 2. You go up against CPUs of all the playable characters before then going on to face the boss characters, leading up to Krauser. You actually get to choose the fighter that you fight against first in this game, so of course I had to go against everyone's new favorite character, Purple Terry. I then fought against Kim on a really beautiful Korean stage. I said this in the last video, but this game really blows me away with how detailed and pretty the stages look. I feel like a lot of games don't really get appreciated for their stage design, but there's just something about the Fatal Fury series that just makes me stop and reflect. Maybe it's because of the new returning element of the foreground and background. That's right, we still have those foreground background shenanigans from the first game, and they're still equally as useless. Anyway, next we reunite with Andy in Italy, so that's pretty cool. After that, we then fight Cheng in the UK? I know it says Hong Kong, but... Oh wait, no, there's Big Ben in the background, my bad. After that, we travel to Japan to fight against Mai in that one Virtual Fighter stage. Get jumped by Joe in Thailand, back to Japan to beat up Jubei, and then go to Australia to beat the shit out of Big Bear for all the trouble he gave me in the last game. And with that, all the playable fighters are defeated, and we get our first cutscene of Krauser, seeing him easily defeat enemies from the first game, mocking them as he stands over, menacingly. Now it's back off to the UK to meet Geese's former right-hand man, Billy Khan. The stage we fight on is really cool. The gears kind of remind me of that one part in Castle of Cagliostro, but it's just missing our iconic Chinese pagodas, if you ask me. Reminding Billy of what happened in the last game, we then move on to fight Axel Hawk, one of the big bads of this game. And this guy was the Raiden of this game for me. I could not beat him. He was the very thing that made me worry whether or not I would even be able to continue the series. He was just too difficult. I felt like nothing I do was working against him, and in the end I just decided to take a break. When I returned, I had newfound determination. I couldn't give up on this game. I had to know what happens next. So I dug deep, and somehow, by some miracle, I managed to win the fight. But I wasn't out of the clear yet. The fights only get harder from here. And before our next fight, we get to see Krauser continuing to beat up our previous enemies. Tell it to the man who defeated Geese. The strongest legend is mine. With my pants sufficiently pissed, we then get to our next fight. Lawrence. Lawrence is a bullfighter, and that's all I know about him. Anyways, 3 recording sessions later and a wish and a prayer, I finally managed to beat him. Terry then blatantly lies before we get a message from the big bad himself. I've been waiting for you. It seems you're delighted by my invitation. Krauser's boss fight is really fucking cool. He flexes on you with his wealth, muscles, and personal orchestra that plays the music for the fight. Holy shit. Having an orchestra playing as you fight this absolute behemoth of a man makes for such a sick fight. It really does feel super impactful, like it's saying you've made it, this is it. It actually manages to capture the same feeling I had going up against Geese in the first game. And this fight is no joke either. I spent ages trying to win just one round. Losing against Krauser actually gets you this nice piece of dialogue, which I thought was pretty cool. I think it's really interesting that he's still respecting your strength during this fight. He seems like a very charismatic antagonist. Anyways, this fight took me so long that I think I broke his AI. Sometimes he'd just randomly stop and do nothing. Using this magical gift, I just waited for his brain to stop and then went in for the grab, eventually netting me the victory. And with that, I did it. One of the hardest video games I've ever played. Finally finished. And what's my reward? What happens to Terry during this fight? Well, he beats him and then the game ends. Yeah, that's it. There's no cutscene, no story, no hint for the future. I just won. Well, that was Fatal Fury 2. A game that genuinely made me consider whether or not I wanted to continue making these videos just through its sheer bullshit difficulty. And I have to come clean about something. Before going into Fatal Fury, I kinda already knew the story. I knew that Andy and Geese fight and that Geese falls off the tower. I just never played the game. But for the second game, I genuinely had no idea what the plot could be. I had so much fun seeing these new characters, learning about Kim, Mai, and all the others. The game also had a very interesting villain. I enjoyed having a charismatic antagonist to play against Geese's very stoic attitude. It was pretty refreshing and fun. But my god, the gameplay just killed me. I genuinely don't know why I had such a difficult time with this one. Anyways, I am never touching this game again. I'm going to bury all of the horrible memories of having to go against Axel Hawk time and time again. But despite not really enjoying my time with this game, I still found myself excited for the next one. Fatal Fury 3, Road to the Final Victory. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for all the support on the first video, and a big thanks to Stephen Cunningham 9320 for his help in the comment section of the last video. I hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time.